Second.
Okay, it started.
5:31. You got a first? I'll second.
I'll be the first or the second, whichever one.
You're first, I'm second.
Okay. We have a motion for the approval of the minutes, which we all received and should be read.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Okay. We are on to. You may want to go.
Me.
You want to go. We just whipped it around.
Yeah.
Okay, so you first, you get a director's report.
First of all, everybody noticed the North Carolina state flag. Yeah, it looks great and official. Y'all look fantastic. So I'm
Is
good to see everybody.
about all the other changes in the office area? Very professional.
If you haven't looked, our offices look different, very, very different. So check that out. Okay, so as you have in front of you, the director's report, and I'm going to read what we have had going on, which is a lot, which is great. It's not been overwhelming. It's been smooth. So all good things. February 12th, we notified Human Resources of applicants that were not chosen for an interview. So they could notify those applicants. That's how that works. And then we had one applicant we were going to interview on Friday, but she desired a different time that we could not provide. So she was okay with, she was honored to be asked. So we, of course, hired Miss Donna Moore is our new deputy director, and we are very, very thankful for Miss Donna. She's amazing. I so appreciate her every day, every minute of every day.
When the person said that she was honored to be asked, did you hit her up to work precinct?
I will. She has worked before.
Okay.
So yes, she's done a good job before. Our state field representative, Steve Adams, visited Wednesday, February 12th, and we had questions and he was able to answer those. And Donna and I had been in conversations concerning our part-time office assistant, and we wanted to reach out to Pamela Hurley, Pam. And Donna was actually able to speak to her that Friday on the 14th and ask her would she be interested, and she was. Then I followed up with a phone call on Tuesday, February the 18th with more details, and she confirmed her interest and availability. So I turned in her information to Human Resources for them to make contact and schedule needed forms and appointments to complete the hiring process for her. And she completed all those necessary forms and the drug test on February 25th. February 19th, IT was able to move the porch to get my desk moved, just FYI for y'all. On the 20th of February, I emailed all 3 municipalities requesting any information concerning annexations that would impact the upcoming November 25 elections. Bisco responded that there were no changes to report. I have not heard from Mount Gilead or Candor. And of course, I'll follow up with them to find out to make sure. And on February.
Almost a month and they've not responded.
Right. February 25th is when Cody came, our representative, to present us with the North Carolina state flag, and I was able to get the flagpole. And I did call the county manager to find out if there were any flagpoles in the county that were not being used to save money. And I asked him, I asked Kevin, and I asked Nancy Heron to see if there were any at the sheriff's office that weren't being used to try to save a little bit of cash, but none were aware of any, so we got a flagpole. I went to notary training on the 27th and haven't received my letter yet through email, which should be any day now. Donna began as our deputy director officially on March the 3rd. March the 4th and the 5th, Print-Elect came to perform maintenance on our DS200s and our Express Vote machines. They were supposed to be here on the 6th, but they called and came early, so that sent us into a early prepping time, and we got it done though. The 2 machines of concern, if you remember, one, the rollers would not work and I had to change out the head on election day. That one, the only thing that it needed was to the scanner bars to be cleaned. And I knew how to do that, but once I came over here, it's a very detailed thing to get in there, and I couldn't remember. I was like, where is that button? But she showed me again, and so now that confirms what needs to be done if that ever happens again. Also, we have the DS200 that fell over during the delivery. The head was perfect. The scanner head, the head, y'all know I call it that, where that receives the ballots and keeps the count. That works perfectly. It was serviced and everything was great with it. The cabinet is busted on one side to where the locking mechanism fell out. And the solution was buy a new cabinet for $2,000 or use that cabinet here as absentee and provisional machine. Just keep it here. Don't have it in a precinct because then there's an integrity issue there. So we won't be doing that. So
That's a good solution.
that's the solution I came to, if that's okay with all of y'all.
Yeah, we don't need to spend $2,000 on that right now.
Absolutely.
lot of this.
She also recommended, looking ahead to 2027, that we'll need to replace batteries for the DS200s. As of right now, they're $225 each. And of course, that'll increase by then. And she said when it's time to order those in a timely manner, so they will be installed during the maintenance visit. That way, there's not an extra charge for them to come out in addition to that
Where did the batteries come from
from Printilec. I would have to order them.
in the United States?
Printilec gets everything. Everything Printilec does is,
Just wanted to make sure we weren't going to have a tariff on top of it.
Well, by then,
We
hopefully.
gotta have it, we gotta have it.
Also, during this visit, it was recommended to prolong the life of our machines to make a trade according to the machine's odometer / protected count reading. The ones that were in Troy were over 5,000. We have Little River that was a few hundred. So Donna and I made the got the task done of switching those machines out. Like Little River is now a bigger number, and Troy got the smaller number. She said that will definitely, rotating those out will definitely add to the longevity of the machine. So that was taking place. We also cleaned all the machines, vacuumed them, had Emma, our high school volunteer, she's getting hours for Beta Club. She came and helped wipe all the machines down. They're all clean. All the ballot boxes that go inside were vacuumed out and cleaned out. That was something I really wanted done. So any questions about the maintenance? All the express votes were fine. There was no other issues at all. Okay. The new director's training last week went very well. Everybody's asking me what I've learned, and I've heard a lot. I'm gradually learning it and processing it. So it was a lot going on there, but it went well. Made a lot of new friends and people that were more experienced that I can call on. People that are less experienced that I'm glad they can call on me and I can help them through whatever they need. Also during the conference, as y'all probably have already seen, if we have any absentees, even one, we have to meet to review those per the state. They had me put in a help ticket so I could clarify with the state. So I wanted to bring that to y'all's attention as well. Monday, we printed NCOA cards. There were 71. I've also given you some documentation on NCOA information so you can better share with the public what an NCOA is if you're asked. March 17th, I also made a request to the county manager and IT to stop receiving Rhonda's emails. Debbie, I knew I was still getting them, and Debbie pointed it out.
They're still on there.
Yeah, so I said, I don't need that anymore because I've made the adjustments. Companies, I've resent them information, letting them know there's been a new director change and giving them my information, and they've made the adjustments. So that has been done. I do not receive Rhonda's emails anymore. So today, Pam Hurley came in for the first day. She's been hired as our office assistant. Her first training day, like I just said, was today. She'll take care of our office in our absence. She's retired from the county clerk's office in 2019. That time combined with her previous employment of working with the town gave her a total of 30 years. She's very well versed in helping and assisting the public. She has been a precinct official and assisted with countywide recount and with hand-to-eye counts. She's going to make an amazing addition to our staff, and she's willing to bake many things for us. She wants to know when the next board meeting is. She is also a caterer.
Oh, my goodness. Don't see me cookies.
Yeah.
And I met her here today, interacting with them, and it's like they've been together forever.
Pam can talk to a rock.
Yeah. And she knows everybody as Brenda did. So it helps with precinct
Yeah.
officials and contact procedures whenever. And something that's not on the director's report, the keys, came yesterday. I'm not sure how it happened, but that door and the other door are now keyed the same as the front door, the French door, and the back door downstairs. They are not new locks, but they're keyed the same because these keys are, what's the word?
Do not duplicates,
They're, yeah, you cannot duplicate. those
non-duplicable,
keys.
you know what I'm saying?
But they were not here long yesterday. I'm not sure, but it's done. I found that out today.
So with them doing those two doors, all the access to this is now under one key and secure.
And nobody else has that one key.
We've got, the master key that Kim has and 4 duplicates that we know of, and we think that's all.
I'm gonna research that because my husband wants to make sure there were only 5 keys made.
Don't blame
And,
me.
so,
With certain, when those keys are do not duplicate, you can't just go, unless you know how to make keys, you can't go anywhere and get a key made.
right.
It is a specific locksmith,
Yes.
and the locksmith under contract is supposed to, if anybody comes to them with that key, and it's not the right locksmith, they're supposed to, they can't duplicate it.
Yes.
They send them to the locksmith that made the key. There's like that code. And then that locksmith is supposed to contact the agency and say, this person is standing here, do we have authorization to make the key?
Yes.
So he would have record of how many were issued.
Yes, that's what, that, and they said, we talked to them when they're here and they said it was just a few years ago, right? Is that?
It was last spring. that it
Last
was
spring,
really
not too long ago. That's what he said, not too
It was
long
right
ago.
after
Right
the
after the
Department of Homeland Security came through, did their
Yep.
whole thing.
Okay, I'm supposed to verify that.
So,
And
Kim found the
So the
invoice.
county didn't rekey them. You guys have an outside source that comes in.
The county maintenance
Through the.
supervisor
Supervisor.
has one. And to clarify, I have the master key. I'm using a key. I have the master key locked up. So we have the master key locked. I have a key. Donna has a key. Now Pam has a key and Kenneth has a key. And that's it. County does not have a key.
Good.
Yeah, they're not supposed to.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any, I didn't get to put that on there because honestly, as I was giving Pam her tour today, I realized the key fit the doors. They didn't tell me when they left. The board table, I've not heard anything on that, when it'll be moved in here or anything. So, I'm still waiting for that to be done. My husband actually, moved my whole office, the furniture and hooked stuff up, and Donna and I helped. And then last week while I was gone, we had moved the printer and IT called and needed it moved back across the room. So Donna did all that by herself. And, he was doing some type of countywide computer type thing today, so it needed to be done. So anyway,
Okay, down to old business. We need assistance in completion of past minutes.
So we had those minutes from November 14th and 15th that, we couldn't ascertain the seconds and motions and stuff. And so that information has now been provided and is corrected in these. And so I'll be presenting them for you to sign and review tonight. They're exactly like they were reviewed for. It's just we reached out to each of the board members with all of their opportunities to dig in their notes and get me the information. And I took that information that I was able to get and pull together, where motions and times could be filled in. Got that for tonight, so.
We had previously tabled the corrections for precinct official appointment information and wages. I hope everybody had a chance to look at that. We were home with us last time. To look at further. Does anybody have any corrections or you can make that? Okay.
we have the chief judges at 11, judges 10, and we changed it to assistants 10.
Yep.
Y'all want to leave it like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Say that again.
The chief judge is 11, judges are 10, and assistants are 10. Because the assistant, 9 out of 10 times, that assistant is doing the judge's job.
Okay, then down at the bottom, does everybody have their form? Do you need me to run make copies?
I do not.
Discussion. Okay.
I do not, but
Fine,
go
keep
ahead.
going.
Okay, one-stop workers were, I think that's different, isn't it? It says $9 an hour.
That's what it was.
That's what it was.
And what is it now? It's the 10?
Make it 10.
Okay.
I just said to you.
I think
It's a different category at the bottom. And then warehouse assistant, we were
We're
going
not
to,
even gonna
not
have
going to have that. And then rovers, I am interested in training someone that can go out to precincts and change the DS 200 heads and do equipment changes as needed. Cause last time I was the one that did
Right.
that. And I'm not sure,
You don't need to be.
That's not a good.
I don't think anybody else knows how to do that.
So, I think minimum is $10 an hour.
Okay, for the rover, okay.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about finding one individual
Yes.
Yes.
and just, okay. That's okay, one individual, all right. And then, my office assistants is already set.
Yeah.
So
the county provided that.
we don't even need to have that one. Okay, so the rovers was the new addition. And I can, add that.
You have a paid office
Accept that.
assistant
I'll make a motion to
from,
accept
from
that.
this right here.
I will, have Pam and she's already settled, so it's not like this
she'll
needs
be
to
here.
be publicized, you know what I mean? There will be times
It's weird.
because of the time constraint with the state on elections this time. I may have to pull in at least one other individual during that first week to get these provisionals worked through, the absentees worked through within 3 days.
So there's a possibility that you still would have to have.
An additional one.
Not, yes, an additional.
So we may need to keep it on there.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't take it off.
If there's the possibility.
Okay, so I know, Pam's pay was what Brenda was making and it was 10.
Like 10.75, 10.50,
Yeah.
something like that.
So we could do $10.
$10.
Okay.
For those one kind of day kind of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, anyway, a lot of the directors at the conference were talking about the long hours that we're gonna have to be put in
Oh, yeah.
those
And
next
been
few
praying you
days.
have no mechanical problem.
And, yeah,
That time frame is just really short. What is it? 3
I'll make a
days?
motion to
I'll make a
accept.
motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
okay,
Okay, moving on.
And you'll give us updated plainly with the final amounts and stuff.
Yeah. And it'll be placed on the website too, is that where?
mhm.
We also tabled the contractor pay breakdown. We were given to review at home. Do I have any discussion about that? Any questions? Do you have more information for us or is that?
No, that's just about the budget.
Okay.
This, we went over the explanation of, elections or years that go from odd to even.
Yeah.
We only have a municipal and a primary. I say only, but we have a municipal and a primary. But just means during a municipal, there's not as many precincts open, so there's not as much work to be done there.
Right.
Was the reason for the lesser amount. Even to odd years, we have the general only, so we are facing a budget for odd to even. I have to wrap my mind around it. So that's why the numbers were what they were.
Do we have a motion to accept?
Or any questions or further conversation or not understanding why it's written the way it is?
I appreciate getting all that information. This is stuff that we were never privy to.
Right. I mean, we can finalize it tonight or it's open for discussion and we can finalize it at the next meeting if you need longer.
Pretty.
Okay. In terms of the actual amount, again, there wasn't much change. She did a really thorough review of what was being paid by the receipts that she received of those paid out. So that's how it wasn't just pulled out of the air.
Right.
She did a very,
Unless there were receipts in that stack of papers.
yeah, but she didn't get. So she's really,
You're thinking over there.
No, I'm thoroughly calm, thoroughly.
okay.
Okay.
We come back in contract. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're talking about Ken's contract.
yeah, we're going in this. Looking at.
There are no more questions. Do we have any questions?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
But all this will be updated. Mine is all white out, so yeah.
Yeah, and in terms,
That's it.
In terms, in
My
terms of
minute
the,
making and getting people to sign stuff, that drove me crazy.
in terms of the packet that was given to you last time, I mean, Kim was trying to pull something together to get us through to the next
To see
fiscal
what-
year, and then on the fiscal year, she will be looking at doing this
Yes.
again, but,
Well, we'll be looking at that coming up.
right.
We need to get some budget stuff taken care of.
But yeah, his contract will be without whiteout and without emissions and.
And three dates. and-
Great, that's right.
Did everybody get to read through the contract? Everybody's pleased with that, the way that was worded and things, okay? Well, Donna was amazing.
Well, I-
We both collaborated and
I
went
have
back
one
and forth.
question,
Sure.
since we never did really get to see it, like, who should really be signing this contract?
So,
The director.
So, yeah, what happens is the director signs the contract and then it goes with Kenneth and goes over with, or whoever, right now it was Kenneth, but, whoever. And then, it'll go to the county, and then once the county approves what Kim and the contractor has entered into, then the county manager will sign it with the finance department there.
That's just for pay, but.
Yeah.
That's for, yeah.
Yeah, the first cover sheet is actually executed between the county and, the subcontractor. But the actual reviewing of all the documents and policy stuff comes from Kim.
That's what I just want to be.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that probably
Thank you.
wasn't sure.
Thank you.
Sure of, because I think Franklin did more than he supposed to be doing.
Okay, we are down to public comment. Has anybody signed up, excuse me, to speak? Rosie, don't have anything to say tonight?
Trying to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah. She's
Bless
been
her
very
heart, she's been
sick.
sick.
we,
And
we kind of had a little vacation here.
Yeah.
As one could have done without.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, on to new business. I met Pam Hurley today, like I said.
Oh, wait.
And she's doing a good job. We need action to rescind the motion to only have absentee meeting if there are 5 or less absentees. There's a copy in there of the communication Kim got from the powers that be. Even if we have 1 absentee vote, we still need to meet. So if anything's wrong with their ballot, they have time to fix what is wrong.
Okay, before we get into the new business,
Sure.
you close that one out real quick. I know I was absent in the last one and we went back and forth about the pay, and I just want to put it for the record, because we kind of toyed. We have 2 lovely people here that we know going to be here for the duration, but the next time a board would have to go through that, what I was stating, I think I had given it to you a long time ago, when it gets time to discussing pay, which is private, but it is not to the, it is for the board, whomever sits on this board, and to take it, not for Frank. So I just want, so we're all on this, but we're not gonna have to be doing it, and I know that was kind of another thing that was up in the air at one point.
Keep going.
It's for the board to make the motion as to what based upon, oh, yeah, I made one for them.
Thank you.
And that's just for an FYI that we have later down the line. I'm not gonna have to use it prayerfully any other time, but that's just so we know who does what and protocol, because it comes from the
From the general statute.
statute.
That's right.
And that way we know, because when we don't know, we sit here and toy for
You're right.
days and hours.
And when we did all the paperwork on hiring Kim, I explained to Frankie that at her first evaluation, we intended to raise it. I knew that that was part of our discretion. Of course, if you do a good job,
Yeah.
which we assume you will. Okay, so now we are on to rescinding the motion. So do we have to have a motion to rescind the motion?
I was not sure about that, so,
Let's just do it. Be safe.
just to take care of it.
Got a hand raised.
Oh, Rosa.
On this one, are you wanting to take the motion back? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, we had said,
Just saying our ESC, I didn't.
Did we spell it wrong?
It's spelled rescind wrong.
Yes.
We want to
Should be
remail.
RESCIND.
I'm sorry.
CIND, not.
Oh, yep,
Sure.
SC.
I have the minutes from August the 13th where that was made a motion, if anybody needs to look at that.
So every time we have we get into the absentee season, we have this meeting and we talk about it, and that's when we make that decision. So technically, that was only for that election cycle. So we don't have in my opinion, we do not have a motion
Okay.
on the table or
Because we've done, since I've been here, we've done.
do it
each-
every
time.
It's,
Yeah.
it's not like it's a standing thing that we do, oh, we're gonna do this and we do it.
That's just how it's worded in.
This
Yeah.
is, absentee meeting. Director Johnson provided members with handout noting the meeting schedule for the board to review absentee ballots. It's listed scheduled dates. Member Adams asked the board to consider no meeting as scheduled if there are no or very few absentee ballots reviewed. Member Wynkoop made motion to set minimum number of absentee ballots received at 5, so that if less than 5 absentee ballots were received, the scheduled meeting would be canceled. Member Medley seconded the motion and all members were in favor.
So
So
we do need to rescind that.
I don't
You're
see where
saying
we
that
need
it's
to
for that
rescind.
cycle.
That was just, that was
because
for
we
that.
do that every time.
Time.
So
So
every
we
time
just
we
won't
have,
do
We,
that.
yeah.
so just
We
not
just
do
make
it.
notes that
Just make notes. It don't need, it didn't need to be
Okay.
rescinded. It just needs to be noted.
we can't.
Right.
it's not
Do it
like
again.
we said, okay, this is it and this is.
And it was an open
To,
invitation to not ever do it again.
So the
Yeah.
August 13th proclamation or resolution was just specifically for that
That
time that
election,
Director
yes,
Johnson
that.
presented.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we really only didn't meet once, right?
Yeah.
We met all the other time.
but still, if we don't have any absentee ballots, we're not meeting.
Right,
That's just, there's no sense in coming up here for nothing.
But now if we have one, we have.
right.
Um,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
I guess
So-
it kind of stands in time while
Yeah.
we'll
oh yeah,
need.
they just want us to,
I hope that doesn't happen.
You give that voter enough time to make the corrections if needed, if,
Yeah.
because they lose a week if we don't.
they did it right the first time, they wouldn't have that problem. That's the way I look at it.
Moving on to the last item under new business. We need a motion to deny the 2 voter registrations that voters are currently serving a felony.
I thought
And
we were,
before we vote on that, please note in your packet, the letter from Ms. Vanderveer's father.
Okay, so these are the one on the new business are 2 new
Right.
applicants, okay? So,
these, Ben, that's over.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt
that's
is
done.
over.
So you have 2 new ones.
2 new ones.
Okay, so let's talk about those.
Here you go. We wanted you to have documentation of her, withdrawing the objection. So you would all be
Yeah,
able to see that.
that's what you emailed us.
Yes.
I read through all that. So we have 2 new ones and these came up just in the last,
Just in our work, doing our job. When we get a voter registration, we do a felony check through the DAC web, portal, and then we act accordingly. Yeah, they.
we're at the stage where you just,
So I guess what he's asking is, when did you happen upon these, like, most recently,
Since the last,
since the last meeting?
Yes,
so the last 30 days.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we're at the point where you need us to say, mail them the card and tell them.
Make a motion to deny the registration.
that-
Yes,
Because it's not something being wrong, it's the fact that they are serving a felon sentence.
Yeah,
currently,
yes. So the difference between this and the last one we're dealing with, the last person, Ms. Vanderveer, was an actual registered voter,
Right,
then got the felony. So she got removed from the active registration.
Yeah.
These are individuals who've gone to the DMV, got their driver's license and registered to vote and have come through us, not currently active registrations, but are seeking at this point to become
To be registered.
registered voters. And so
That's interesting.
that's,
it's almost like a cover the office
yeah,
by presenting it to the board
right, because
when,
they, they registered and now they're not supposed to be,
They're not eligible.
but their registration has not been processed.
They've
Please.
applied,
Right.
but the registration has not been processed and completed, approved. Because they haven't met the criteria of
They do that when they need it. I don't think everybody does.
If they're on felony conviction, probation stop.
I'm a beg to differ on that one, because I talked to somebody who had been out for 15 years and I got him registered, who didn't know he was registered because he was given the wrong information that he never could register again.
You might want to
So
mention.
I think,
How do I do that?
I don't think nobody gonna
Yeah,
intentionally.
so it did change not too long. I can't remember
Yeah.
how long ago it was, but
But it's the wording that is hemming people up to not
Because at
know
one
that
time-
it's changed.
Contract.
at one time, if you
Okay,
had a felony conviction on your record, you could not re-register to vote, ever.
Mhm.
But then they changed the law to where as long as you
Finish everything.
finished your sentence, paid your fines or whatever, completed everything, you can
Mhm.
register now.
But I don't think it's
But
being
it's still-
relayed to everyone, because I was surprised when they got. told me,
Yeah.
When we did that.
Yeah,
registration.
but well, so, and at one point, there was a thing, just a few years ago where they said, oh, well, you can, and then
And all I can speak for is when I
Yeah.
was, the 20 years I was there.
it's,
What it does.
Didn't they change it one time where if you've done everything, except maybe you haven't paid your money, you can?
yeah.
Right, now they've
And
changed
now
it to incarcerated, parole, or if you have any fines that are due, that you haven't paid, you cannot register.
Still
to pay.
cannot.
So this one expires in September.
It is, it's at the bottom, it sure
When they
is.
get down from force the money part.
reply.
I think those
Okay.
forms, and Tasha might be able to enlighten us on this because I know she just recently did it. I think the forms for the DMV are electronic and they pop up and ask you the question about voter registration.
It does.
I don't even know if they,
And it had me confused. I called her, I was like, so if I just unregistered myself from voting or what? Cause this,
so I don't know what questions they're actually seeing at the bottom. Now, when they come in, they pick up a form from our office. It says at the bottom, must not be convicted of or actively serving a felony. So, yeah, it says on that. But when they're just filling in the blanks on a computer screen, I'm not sure what they're actually
But
seeing.
even at the DMV, when they ask you, do you want to register to vote?
That's all they.
renewed your life.
That's all they ask, and then they just,
I just
Yep.
witnessed this last week
Yeah.
with my grandson. They don't ask anything.
This last time in November, I had.
So I'm thinking they fill in the blanks and then the blanks fill in the form and the form comes to us, I think is what's happening.
I had to do mine in person in November. Oh. So that was one of the things I asked, and when I answered yes, I was already registered. If there was any questions after that, I wasn't asked because I was already registered.
But there's a little box that pops up and I called Donna. I kept reading it till it is confusing.
Oh, you mean online?
Online, yes, it's very confusing, the way it's worded as to, and I thought I was going crazy. So I was like, let me hold this up, and I called her. I said, okay, I'm getting ready to read this to you. I'm gonna screenshot, I'm gonna do everything.
I'm getting
because it almost made me feel like when I clicked, it was taking my voter registration away just because of the wording.
Yeah, and she was calling to check to make sure her registration was still intact.
lucky for me, I get to go see those wonderful people at the DMV every time I have to do mine.
See, after you do it online one time, then you got to go in person.
I could never do mine online.
Well, I'm sure that you recognize this person.
Yes.
So,
Okay,
Oh.
anybody have anything else still alive?
well, first of all, I'll make a motion to, deny the applications for those two
I'll second.
based off of the research that, Donna and Kim have provided us.
I do my research and then I have her double check behind me because she's gifted in that area.
No, it's just good to have extra fresh eyes on
Yes,
it because she gets to see so much stuff.
Did you second me?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Kim.
I made a mistake in, I was thinking the budget discussion would also include the budget. So I think I should have listed that on the agenda under the contract for pay breakdown. So I don't know how we add this part of the discussion to the agenda or the,
New business.
Yeah, when we were looking at the new business, we were
I was
looking
like,
at it and it said, oh, my page. It
I'm
said
sorry
budget
about that.
discussion / contractor. And so we took that as being one, but it was meant to be budget discussion and to include the contractor.
Okay, so now we're to the budget discussion.
Yeah,
So, I will make a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, there you go.
Business to add, budget discussion.
is there a second?
I second.
Thank y'all. This is due to Frankie, April the 11th.
In April the 11th.
Yes, sir.
What is the question by telephone and communications?
That question mark is there because I do not know what that is. I will have to,
Right, $2,000?
yeah, it's never been used, or it wasn't used. Hang on, where am I? Yeah,
Where are you at?
there's only a little bit of it used. It's never the whole thing used, so I don't know.
Which one are you?
Telephone, other communications. Oh,
That one's.
okay, so that is typically gonna be where,
Market side of it.
so a lot of businesses, if you use your personal phone, for business work, particularly like, precinct officials, we pay just a little, like, that's why the chief judge gets a little extra.
Okay, so that would be for precinct officials.
Well, kind of, sort of, but that's kind of where it goes.
Okay,
Is we used to call up the phone company and the phone company would run out there and they turn on the line
right.
at every one of the precincts just for us for the day. Quit doing that because it costs too much and one, you can't, stop. I worked for those folks for too many years. But so with the technology of cell phones, it's easier just to say, hey, we'll give you a little extra by the hour or whatever to use
Yeah,
your phone.
I think it's
in case we need it.
$15 or something.
Yeah. So that's why it's
Okay.
in there. Now, there's no other types of communications that we're doing, as far as that goes, because everything else is in, we don't
Yeah.
bill for that. And then so, that's part of, y'all's job is part of your email and things like that.
They do that.
There is that one precinct that still has to have the
Over.
landline phone
Over.
because the cell service is
Yeah,
really bad.
there's a cell tower up there that'll pick it up.
Don't know if they charged anything to have that on there last time. But I can see where that may have been, that makes sense now.
Is that where the $137 came from?
It might be.
Oh,
And why did we have $8,900 back in 2021? You know what? Crap.
Since we've never really
I'm on the wrong line.
and my eyes are challenging, who takes care of the overhead? Who oversees this building?
County.
Phone bill, the county,
County,
Comes out.
and there's no, is it coming out of this? Is there a reimbursement for this?
Well, we actually would reimburse them. The
Yeah,
county would
right.
pay and then our budget would pay for that bill.
Where is that in here?
For the
My eyes
telephone.
are challenged. Like,
I would
I'm
say-
thinking that's that telephone that we had the question mark before. We weren't sure what that was, but
And that's probably part of it,
So the county goes ahead and pays for the electricity.
well, there's repairs and maintenance buildings. That's 2,000.
that was another thing Kim learned at her session because she was asking about, I have this line item on my budget, not sure what it's for because
Well,
we don't
no,
have ground.
Some of the directors were talking about how they've had precincts that they've had to repair carpet. They've had to repair flooring. They've had to have carpet cleaned. And I told them, I said, I've got two line items. One is, hang on, y'all.
repairs and maintenance.
Repairs and maintenance, and then another one is construction maintenance and repair supplies. Household.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so repair, maintenance, building / land, because I was like, we ain't got any land around here. This, it's building the sidewalk kind of thing. But that's what it is. It's for the precincts. It's not for us. So,
So like if, for example, Oprah, just because it's out in the middle of nowhere, if they had a really messed up sidewalk, we would repair that?
no, if we cause damage,
If we
Oh,
call.
we caused damage.
if we
okay.
cause damage of any type, we would be
So,
responsible
when
for that.
they're setting up and somebody knocks a hole in the wall, not like they're gonna do that over because it's all cinder block. But, you know, say the library, they knock a hole through the wall, or town hall Bisco, or, you know, that's what that's for.
So, where is the itemization for the overhead to keep the building running? What is
That
this
was
like?
up,
Which category is it in?
well, you've got buildings and grounds cleaning services, and then there was another one.
She's talking about the light bill for the day.
Yes, that's part of your budget.
Yeah.
If you're having to give that back to the county, that is part of
You know,
this budget.
I know we would have to give the telephone because that was something that would be specifically used
Used
for
for
that
it.
day. But for the lights for the day, I don't know that they've ever asked for reimbursement of that. But again, I'm new at
Unless
this.
they
So I'm
take it
thinking
out.
what has to be paid.
Uh-huh.
Who came up with these?
This is
Hi.
straight from Frankie.
Frankie.
And some of them are very confusing
Is
and
there a description? Does he have a description that goes with these itemized names? That way it could be better be fitted for you to decide what
What's
you're putting
included in there.
what's included in that category.
right.
And then that way you can, form the budget, cause if we're gonna play a guessing game, then
This
which is what we're all
very-
doing.
Yeah, this is very confusing. Because we have office supplies and materials and then department supplies and materials.
So we need a breakdown as to a definition for these titles as to what is lumped under office supplies and materials.
Right.
Is that taking care of
Like,
y'all's office? Cause office supplies would, to me, when I had to do a budget, would be what it takes for me
to do your job.
to do my job. to keep
Right.
Things going. So
And
is that,
department supplies would be election supplies. That's what I would
If-
think.
Yeah.
but we need to see what his definition is, cause then we might still be categorizing it.
It would be interesting to find out where these came from, because I think you got this from Belinda. I don't think it came straight from the
No,
county.
Frankie sent it to me
Frankie
because he
sent it.
said this is due April 11th.
Okay.
He sent me the
To provide
spreadsheet.
A breakdown of.
Yeah, this is from Frankie.
So do you think these are standard things that every department has in Montgomery?
Well,
County?
we have voting machines.
So it can't be.
Not everybody's gonna have voting.
A lot
machines.
of it is the same though.
Yeah, but I think it is a generic one.
Advertising for notices, so that would be our website, a definition of these.
So you've got 3 weeks
Mhm.
to get this back to him.
Mhm.
3 weeks from Friday, so this coming Friday. I suggest that by the end of the week, you get us an email with the descriptions, so that we can really look at it.
And break it down.
We're gonna have to, really crunch, on our free time. Our next board meeting will be, no, it should be the 8th.
April 8th.
So,
Really? Oh, yeah.
yes,
We delayed this.
so we
Right.
made this one because she was out of town.
Right.
So if we can have that information, I would say by mid next week.
Okay.
That gives us a week and a half to crunch it individually. Come back in here on the 8th and finalize this thing out to where, you can send it over to him by the 11th. Sound good to you, ladies?
Sounds good.
What's in the yellow, I put there.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I
That's
just
what
want you to
you-
know that. I put that there. And I had put, the buildings, maintenance and land, you can cross that description out because I was thinking that was us, not precincts.
Right.
If you want to cross that out, because my future desire is the front of our building. It's all cosmetic. I just want pressure washing and I want that little broken up patio busted. I want it replaced. And so that's just, I've just got to get estimates on that and I'm sure that's our part because it's almost like a slanted patio part. And
It's
it's,
not part of the sidewalk.
right, it would be part of our building, but that's a future thing and that's what I was just kind of, I've been told, put your dreams in there.
All right, one other thing.
Sometimes they
And
get
what-
approved.
I have
Which one are we working through?
The description beside repairs and maintenance dash building slash land.
Okay.
Where I have, we have a greater need, I would like to have the front patio and it just kind of,
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll mark through that.
just mark through
2000.
that, yeah.
Out here to the side.
Not the number, the
Just
comment, because she's gonna
Out-
need the
so-
money, because that's what would replace the carpet at the church if they spilled ink all over it. or
Oh, so
something.
leave 2,000 there.
Yeah, we had a whole new revelation about what that
Oh.
money is actually
Is
for.
this actually what was spent, or is this, did you, out here these years? is
Yes,
this what was
ma'am.
Actually spent?
Yes, ma'am. We have an appropriated column and an actual column. And we should compare the 2025 column with the 2023 column, if you want to get the years to match kind
I'm
of
just
thing.
asking, because we asked for it before and that's not what, so I just.
And just remember. that
Titles were different, so I just want to make
what
sure
year
that
was
I'm
it?
looking
Was it
at
23, 22 or 23, we bought the equipment. 23,
23.
that's when we bought all new equipment.
Yeah,
So you notice there, it's really high.
yeah.
And we got a deal on that equipment.
Okay.
Rosa was here. She remembers that. So, okay, so that's kind of where I'm thinking, see if you can get some broader or some detailed
You got it.
here. Get that information back to us by mid next week. And then we can crunch it. Come back in here on the 8th and let's focus on that and knock that out.
And some of the things where it might be listed as itemized, might not
Yeah.
really be befitting for that category.
And then we also want to know, where do our utilities get paid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make sure
Utilities
that,
come from.
yeah, because if you,
I
And
mean, we're sharing a building, like, I know that side of the building is attached to this side of the building.
mhm.
right,
I mean, how are they splitting that? I haven't gone out there and looked. I'm sure there's not a meter for this part and that part and this part and that. I'm telling you this. I know that years ago, when they were doing some work back here, they got in too big a hurry and they walled in a phone pedestal. Cause I couldn't get here quick enough with I couldn't get my guys here quick enough.
and we had talked in the past about shelving for that supply room, and you got a question mark by it.
Right now,
That was just
we really can do anything until we. figure
right.
out
The
all
reason,
the Definitions.
the reason I have a question mark there is I can't think of anything I need. And the only thing, we're gonna fix that one room up as a, supply room, where the shelves are there. When we go in, I can look and I can go, we've got everything we need.
Right.
I don't need to dig and what's behind that and what's over there and this bin's not labeled correctly, so I gotta go hunt, blah, blah, blah. I wanna have it organized and, so that's the only thing I could think of that I need, but there's shelving upstairs from the bank.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
It's long counters with the blue laminate on it.
and we can,
Or it's not laminate, what's it called when it's made to, it's the easy to clean countertops are all one piece. Anyway, that's what's up there. It came from the bank. It's really long. I mentioned it to Rhonda years ago, instead of buying plywood for the computer room to go up there. And she said, no, we're gonna go buy plywood. So it's up there if we need it now. So anyway, that's just an idea. I was just questioning why I needed $1,500, but I'm not accustomed to all those things that pop up, but we didn't use it. And we've never had it allotted before.
okay,
According to this budget, it's $1,500 that was not used or has not been used. It might have to be used to balance our budget because of all the ballots we've had to reorder and the 2 primaries we had and, extra workers coming in
so
the
where did all
past.
that recount money come from? Did Frank,
It would have been in the last budget in 24.
and surely we didn't have enough allotted for that.
No, we've spent, well, I've had the first order of ballots was 8,000 something and the second was 10,000 because of having to get rid of the Kennedy ballots.
Yeah, but we didn't pay for the first.
Okay,
Oh, we
That
did,
first, no, the first ones that were printed,
We didn't, yeah.
we did
didn't
not have to
for
pay.
those.
That is paid through with the state funds. We paid to have all of them reprinted. See,
Well,
that's where, when it's a general, non-municipal, like this year, it's a municipal election. we have to pay for all those ballots for
Right.
those 3 municipalities.
And then
They reimburse us.
Right.
When you have a statewide race or a national race, those are paid through the state fund
Even though it was their decision
to force
to
us
remove
to.
him.
Yeah, but even though
off
they
that,
told us
we
to
had to
print
pay
them,
for it.
There it
go
is.
ahead and print, knowing that they were in litigation, that it was gonna most likely go against them, they said, go ahead and print them, and then they turn around to make every county reprint. So some of the county don't use a DS-200, they just use the express vote.
Mhm,
So they don't have to print ballots, they just use that paper stock.
mhm.
It's something that we talked about in the
Mhm.
beginning, but the cost of that machine and having to have more than one in every precinct,
It was crazy.
it was not worth us in the long run
Yeah.
of saving money on ballots. So
Any other question?
So on that ballot line, Teddy,
Yeah.
there's $15,000 that was appropriated and we have spent 25,718 because of the reprinting and
because
things.
it's reprinted.
Mhm.
What's
It
it
cost
called?
us almost 15 grand.
If you look at
Maybe
line
it is.
item, the last three digits are 283.
Mhm.
Okay, it's ballots.
I just want you to understand what you're looking at, and pay
Yeah.
attention to the years up top. Because the other odd year, 23, 12,000 was appropriated and 23, the actual, what that was spent on it was 14,000.
So that's where they're going. Not taking into, when the budget was done, the individuals who were looking at it, which is not sitting in this room right now, did not take into consideration cost increases. So when you say, oh, well, we spent 8,000 last year, well, let's go with 9,000 this year. No, it don't work that way.
No, well,
Cost of living goes up 3 to 6% every year.
Wake County's director was there with us and she's very experienced and she spoke a lot and, she actually pre-orders her cardstock for ballots and makes them take a picture of the roll.
Yeah.
And she said it's in there now for the next election. She said, we order ours 2 years in advance because if something happens and we can't get cardstock for ballots, it's a major problem.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's a possibility.
Yeah, because, I mean,
Well, think
Wake
about
County
the cost of
is-
trees. I mean, you know,
what,
the-
Even though we have 2 lumber mills down the road. but-
5, 6 million people in Wake County? I know
Yeah,
Wake County
yeah.
Schools is the largest school system.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, anything else, lady?
Nope.
Oh,
Oh,
I will, take just a second and, to recognize Ms. Rosen, the Democrat Party Chair. Thank you for coming, and bringing the granddaughter.
her chaperone.
Yeah, your driver, your chaperone.
it's so important to have.
And, Mr. Mashburn, thank you for coming. Ladies,
He knew the Kelsey.
it has been put forth that, Mr. Mashburn will most likely be the next, GOP chair for the party. So I just want to recognize him, real quick.
He was in attendance when they delivered me the flag as well.
Oh, good.
Y'all don't know Mr. Mashburn, please, introduce yourselves.
Burn.
Mashburn.
And I had a question about an article that was in the paper maybe last week about, no, not about us.
If it's not,
Not-
let's move
not
on.
be about us. But they were talking about reallocating buildings and it was mentioned that we would move back into the courthouse. After you get this
Well,
working so.
we were-
easily.
well, I have not heard anything other than when I went to go get my notary form signed by Nancy Heron. She said there was a, oh gosh, I can't remember what she called it. It was a reception for other department heads. And she said they're changing about. I said, oh, that I hope they're not going to move us because we are in the most the greatest place as far as office room
Location.
and location and things that are on lockdown. I've got my retention supplies stored in a great area and it's just really good. I would just not be
The
happy about that.
security's good.
It can happen though. They can do what needs to be done, but
They'll do it.
anyway, the commissioners were gonna be touring offices at 1. We never saw anybody. So that made me hopeful that I know, Soil and Water has a need. I think the 4-H office possibly has a need. I did not read the, article.
4-H is getting a whole new
Rate is going up by the.
Okay, good. I,
Soil and Water and 4-H are all going up there.
all right, well, I don't know, but,
Cause we went through this, we were moving out
Yeah.
there last year.
yeah.
When they do the remodel
It's not just my state.
and, yeah,
Board of Election.
Mhm.
yeah, we was, yeah, there was a whole design and everything and then there was some fussing and arguing,
Bragging.
Not wanting. to
and
be
bragging
there.
and this one not wanting to share and that one not wanting to share. And with the space and the security that we have to have, it really overshadowed what needed to go on out there. So
Yeah.
I think it's real important
I
for
remember my daughter worked at 4-H, so I kind of got that whole thing.
elections, and I just learned that just by being here in this last year. Elections is so different than anything else because of the security that's required. And the average person out here doesn't understand. Yes, they hear on the news about, elections being taken over and the integrity of elections or whatever. What they don't understand and what it really does take to keep it secure. Like you said, most people don't realize the county does not have a key to this building. They're not allowed to. The average Joe doesn't know that. They think the county can pop in and out. They don't understand the massive equipment. Yeah, you go to one precinct and you see the one little machine that you have to stick your ballot in. They don't realize there's, 17 others of those out there, that we have to have the storage space. And I'm not even sure that the county commissioners understand that, they haven't been by here. So we're primed and ready
There's a
that when they come back here, that we can show
Couple
them.
of old ones that used to come around, they would come and
Yeah,
Mary and Dana, they came and they know what,
But Dana's not a
They're
commissioner.
no
no.
longer there.
So the
they're
new
no
one,
longer there. So we need to make sure and you just kind of get the word, the elections is kind of a special bird. And yeah, it seems like we've got a lot of, when you walk in here, maybe you hear the echoes of the hallways. But when it's time, this is what we need. We need the space to score that. It needs to be behind 3 locked doors. It needs to be secured where no one has access to it.
also,
What's happening at the courthouse, that they would have room to move anybody back over there?
They're moving somebody.
Well, it's flooding right now. That's one of the
Been flooding
reasons.
for 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's flooding.
Let's move us back in there.
Back over there and ruin every equipment.
A lot of people also do not understand that
With some
Uh,
$165,000
this
worth of
sits right here.
equipment.
This lady right here, she has a lot of power, more than most people in this county.
Well, if you would let me know if a open house or a county commissioner invite needs to be planned to tour our facilities. I have every office is used in this place and I will be willing to give a tour and explain that when we had a county-wide recount, this room was
Full.
full and we need adequate room to be able to take care of these situations and recounts adequately
Anybody been to courtroom B? And
Yeah.
in the basement,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
imagine doing a countywide recount in that room.
We also use that room back there.
14 precincts and 3 one-stops.
For visibility
They
alone,
really don't need anybody.
this is the place to be.
And
You
that's,
drive down Main Street, you see the Board of Election.
and that's another point. Y'all discussed at a previous meeting about these emergency locations and not wanting to be like in a gated community. So voters have to go through the gates to be able to get to the vote thing. Well, it's the same kind of process at the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Why should a person have to go through a metal detector and get checked and feel uncomfortable? I think it would certainly deter someone who
It does.
might be interested in registering to vote to have to go to the courthouse and go through a metal detector and be critical.
When we were in the courthouse and they kept telling me I couldn't take my phone, I couldn't take my bag in, you know what I did? I knocked on the door beside there because there was a door that went right into, at that time, Amy was the director. Knocked on that door and she'd open the door and I'd walk in and then they got mad. well, you can't do that. Well, guess what?
I just did.
I'm here for elections, not your court.
Mhm.
You can't keep me from bringing certain things into this room.
And I think,
And so, and that's where the judges have got to, because the judge controls there and the sheriff, and so they've got to understand. And that's why we don't want to be back in that building.
No,
and
I
like
don't.
Katie was saying, it's nice for a citizen
To be able.
department to be seen
And
Yes.
and approachable. You know, it's nice to be on Main Street, so they feel comfortable
Was it
saying, hey, do you have the latest whatever?
Steve Adams, when he was at Anson, they had an old doctor's office, a nice little pull up. Yeah, he was telling me about this years ago when I first met him at a conference. And he was like, oh yeah, this is what we got. And I was like, really?
So this facility, it checks all the boxes.
Well, we
Has the
know
security
that-
we need for the thing, but the approachability from
Right.
the public.
And we know the last election, the way we have it set up now,
It works.
we were not bothered. It was orderly and the machines got put where they needed to. The voted ballots were locked in the field. The unvoted ballots were put where they needed to be. I mean, it was just organization. And to be put in a place that's a lot smaller, it would be
I was
difficult.
talking about the Petty Floyd's Credit Union building.
Oh, yeah.
When you said,
So if it ever comes that you think it would help to have an open house or have the county commissioners come or whatever, we're more than willing to do that.
I think you should.
I think you should, especially before this they get this budget. They need to see what we're talking about.
Two. or three-
Well, do
three
you
new
want
county
me to,
commissioners.
I'm sorry.
Got
Is
three
there
new-
three? There's three new county commissioners.
Would you like for me to send out invitations for the next board meeting? Because we'll be doing the budget discussion or
Well, you need to
no?
look at their schedule, because a lot of times they meet the same night we do.
Yeah.
Is
I
this
think
Tuesday or Thursday?
Tuesdays.
They meet the
Second
first.
or the third Tuesday, they have the work session, the Thursday prior.
That's
to
what it
the
is.
I think they meet the
They meet
first.
the 15th.
I think it's the
Okay.
third.
But check with them,
Tuesday.
send it to them, invite them.
Invite them to
I'm
that.
more than happy to see 'em.
Do you have pictures of any of our recounts or, what's gone on? I mean, if we had something to show them, because you're right, when you walk down the hall, you hear the echoes of the feet and all that. It seems like a cavernous, empty space, but there are times where we are overflowing with people and work and,
The courthouse is that way.
yeah, the commissioners, the elected officials,
The,
they know.
they know.
There's
Quite a few of them have been
Need to
in.
make a science project board, they're elected officials, oh, they know.
I know one particular one, he was here a whole lot this past election cycle.
Oh,
He saw a lot.
poor guy. Oh.
And there's a couple that I don't think the furthest they've ever walked in the door is the front door.
We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and extend.
Any
the
other
invitation
business?
for
Well,
them.
and to also see how professional all the different spaces look now. It's not
If it gets looking too good, they'll take away and give somebody else.
Yeah.
I've seen them do that too.
okay, if there are no other comments or questions,
Well, the stripes on the wall should.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
we are.
6:34.
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You want us to sign those now?
These are,
Donna?
there are the meetings, that was the closed meeting where you discussed the deputy director stuff, there's last. I did have, look at,